Hey, welcome to Build an AI. I'm Nia, your AI learning guide. Let's get into it.
Let's get right into it. Today, we are breaking down a massive paradigm shift in modern web development. We're going to explore how transitioning to React, locking down your security with TypeScript, and navigating these wild new AI-driven IDEs are completely transforming how we build apps. And more importantly, we'll talk about how to navigate this shift without entirely losing control of your own code. It's a crazy time to be a developer, so let's dive in. I want to start by asking you a pretty provocative question, one that really challenges our current coding habits. When you sit down at your editor, fire up your environment, and just let an AI tool autocomplete lines upon lines of code, are you actually programming? Or have you just become an AI operator? I mean, we've all been there, right? Hitting tab and just kind of hoping for the best. It's a subtle distinction, but it's the absolute heart of what we're tackling in this explainer. Because if we're not careful, we end up outsourcing our thinking right along with our typing. So here is our quick roadmap for today. 1. The leap to React. 2. The security of TypeScript. 3. The autocomplete trap. 4. Prompting, or how to actually talk to AI. And 5. Using AI as an assistant. Starting off with Section 1, the leap to React. Think about the stark contrast between our old methods and modern frameworks. Vanilla JavaScript works absolutely fine for a tiny script, sure. But as your app grows, it rapidly devolves into this messy labyrinth of repetitive commands and fragile spaghetti code. It's a total nightmare to maintain. React, on the other hand, gives us a clean, organized escape route. Instead of imperative, step-by-step commands where you're basically micromanaging the browser, React is declarative. You just describe what the UI should look like based on its current state, and you build it using reusable components. It's literally like snapping together digital building blocks. We can actually demystify React's rendering engine by breaking it down into a simple 4-step recipe. It all kicks off when your application state changes, like, say, a user clicks a button. Now, React doesn't rush to update your screen instantly because that's notoriously slow. Instead, it updates the virtual DOM, which is just a lightweight and visible copy sitting in your computer's memory. Next comes diffing. React compares this brand new virtual DOM against the old one. Think of it like playing spot the difference between two photos. Finally, it takes those differences and applies only the minimum necessary update to the real DOM. That surgical precision is exactly what keeps your browser fast and responsive.
Moving right along to Section 2, the security of TypeScript.
We've all made those fat finger mistakes, right? Typing TEXO instead of TEXTO. In pure JavaScript, a silent error like that would easily sneak all the way into production, just waiting to break the app in front of a totally frustrated user. But with TypeScript, you essentially have this incredibly strict security guard standing right over your shoulder. It catches the typo instantly, throwing a warning long before the code is ever compiled or deployed. It literally forces you to be deliberate and precise with your data structures. And this brings us to the core philosophy we need to lock in today. Building a project at lightning speed using an AI tool means absolutely nothing if you don't actually comprehend the underlying logic. Sure, you can prompt your way to a working to-do app in 5 minutes, but finishing the app is just an excuse to learn the architecture. If the project is totally done and it works flawlessly, but you couldn't explain why it works, well, the learning process has entirely failed. You've basically just built a house of cards. Which brings us to Section 3, the autocomplete trap. It is absolutely crucial that we understand the massive difference between these two paradigms. Traditional autocomplete tools just suggest syntax. They know that if you type a dot after an array, you probably want a standard filter or map method. It's totally deterministic. But modern AI tools, they're trying to guess your entire intent based on probability. They can spit out the logic for a wildly complex component in 1 second flat. And the danger there is that they make huge assumptions. Because they run on probability rather than strict logic, they will inevitably make mistakes that aren't obvious at first glance. I love to think of this as the calculator metaphor. A calculator gives you the answer to a massive multiplication problem instantly, right? But using it doesn't teach you how basic math actually works. If you rely on a calculator before you ever learn how to multiply, you are mathematically defenseless the second the battery dies. It is the exact same thing with coding. Relying on AI to just generate your React code prevents your brain from developing that essential developer intuition. You won't understand how state actually flows or how to debug those vicious re-rendering loops. So you gotta play detective a little bit. Watch out for these specific red flags in AI-generated code. If you notice an excessive use of the any type in your TypeScript files, the AI is just being lazy and bypassing the type system. If it randomly imports a ghost library that doesn't actually exist in your dependencies, or if it reverts to outdated React class components instead of modern hooks, Yeah, it's hallucinating. And if it's ignoring obvious edge cases with super basic comments, it's not thinking deeply about your problem. When you see these signs, hit backspace, reject the suggestion. How do we actually break this addictive cycle of blindly mashing the tab key? We have to adopt a new methodology. First, always read the code before you accept it. Second, actively use the chat window to ask the AI why it shows a specific pattern. Third, experiment. Intentionally break parts of the generated code just to see how and where it fails. Fourth, force yourself to write at least some of the boilerplate manually just to keep your muscle memory sharp. And the golden rule, if you can't explain what you just accepted out loud, delete it immediately. Section 4, Prompting and the Art of Talking to AI. Remember, AI generates code entirely from scratch every single time you ask it something. A vague prompt, like just typing build a to-do list, leaves massive architectural decisions completely up to probability. The AI is just going to guess what you want. But a highly specific prompt completely eliminates those wild guesses. Ultimately, the code you get out is only ever going to be as good as the precise technical details you put in. It's the classic rule, garbage in, garbage out. So when you structure your requests, you need to use this exact anatomy to give the AI the guardrails it desperately needs. You got to state your technical context right up front, tell it exactly what versions of Vite or React you're running. Then define explicit inputs and outputs. Detail exactly where the state lives, and set firm design constraints. Giving it that extreme level of detail is exactly how you force the tool to generate professional, maintainable code on the very first try. And finally, Section 5, Treating AI as a True Assistant. You really want the AI working for you, not the other way around. A fantastic way to do this? Ask it to generate 3 entirely different design patterns for the exact same problem so you can actively compare them. Or have it break down and explain a really confusing snippet of legacy code that has you stuck. Those things accelerate your learning. But never, under any circumstances, use it as a shortcut to just spit out raw code so you can avoid thinking through the architectural design yourself. That is a one-way ticket to massive technical debt. Now, here is a direct, incredibly valuable technical tip from our sources. When you are tackling a hands-on project in the Antigravity IDE, utilizing planning mode over fast mode is pretty much non-negotiable. This one simple toggle changes the whole dynamic. It forces the AI agent to present a highly strategic, readable markdown plan before it touches a single file in your project. It puts you firmly back in the driver's seat, and it forces you to critically review its intentions before it's allowed to write a single line of actual code. So here is the ultimate test of true comprehension. If you turn off your monitor, step away from the keyboard, and close your eyes. Can you explain out loud exactly how data flows through your app? If you can't explain it without looking at it, you haven't actually learned it yet. The real value in modern web development isn't just knowing how to ask a machine to write a script for you, it's your human capacity to understand, evaluate, and structure these complex systems. So the next time you find yourself blindly reaching for that tab key, take a breath and ask yourself, who is really in charge here, you or the machine? Thanks for hanging out with us on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.
And that's a wrap for today. If this lesson was helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new episode. We drop 3 new lessons every single week, all designed to help you learn, build, and launch with AI. Share this with someone who's on the same journey, and I will see you in the next one.